Day 16 of 90, and today inheritance is going to bite us on purpose. Here's the trap: you reach for inheritance because it feels like free code reuse, then a subclass silently overrides your ASP.NET handler, your EF core entity returns null in a test that used to pass, and nobody wrote that bug on purpose. By the end of these 5 minutes you'll know exactly when inheritance helps, when it hurts, and why the sealed keyword is one of the most underrated tools in C#. Let's break 3 real scenarios. Scenario 1, an ASP.NET handler chain. You write a base-auth handler that subclasses HTTP client handler and overrides send async to inject a bearer token. Clean. Then a teammate derives logging auth handler, overrides send async again to add logging, and forgets to call base.sendAsync. The auth header is now silently dropped. Requests start returning 401 in production, and the stack trace points nowhere useful. The override chain broke the contract, and the compiler was perfectly happy. That's the fragile base class problem. Every virtual method is a promise you can't fully control. The fix is one keyword. Mark the override sealed, protected sealed override task send async. Now auth handler can override its parent, but no further subclass can touch send async. The contract is locked at the layer that's actually stable. Sealed isn't saying you can't extend me, it's saying this specific behavior is complete, build around it, not through it. Your teammate gets a compile error instead of a 2 a.m. pager alert. That is the whole pitch. Scenario 2, Entity Framework Core and a DDD model. You've got an abstract entity base with a virtual ID, and an auditable entity that stamps created at and updated at. EF Core loves virtual properties, it uses them for lazy loading proxies. But here's the gotcha: when EF generates a proxy subclass of your entity, an overridden virtual property can return null or stale data in a unit test, because the proxy intercepts it. You didn't write that null. The runtime did. Add another inheritance layer without configuring the discriminator column and table per hierarchy mapping quietly falls apart. Seal the leaf. Make your concrete domain entity, say, sealed class order, auditable entity, a sealed class. EF Core can't generate a lazy load proxy for a sealed type, so it falls back to explicit loading and your navigation properties behave predictably. You close the hierarchy exactly where the model stops being abstract. Rule of thumb: keep base entities abstract for shared behavior, seal the concrete leaves unless you genuinely need proxy-based lazy loading. Sealed domain entities are a feature, not a restriction. Scenario 3, a plugin pipeline. You expose a public abstract pipeline step with an abstract process async, and concrete steps like logging step and validation step. Leave those unsealed and consumer code can subclass validation step, override process async, and skip your validation entirely, breaking the pipeline contract while still type checking. The better design: define an interface, iPipeline step, with process async, then make each concrete step a sealed class implementing it. Consumers extend the pipeline by writing new iPipeline step implementations, composition, not by hijacking yours. Extensibility through interfaces, safety through sealed. That gives us a decision framework. Use inheritance when you own both sides of the hierarchy and the relationship is genuinely is a. Seal the class when the leaf is stable and you don't intend it to be subclassed. And when extensibility is the real goal, prefer interfaces plus composition over a deep base class. Inheritance for reuse you control, interfaces for extension others provide. Most fragile base class pain comes from using inheritance where composition was the answer. And there's a performance bonus. Sealed classes let the JIT devirtualize calls. A normal virtual call compiles to callvert of table lookup. On a sealed type, the JIT knows no override exists, emits a direct call, and can inline it. In a hot ASP.NET minimal API loop. Benchmark.NET shows that shaving real nanoseconds per call. Seal your hot path handlers and the runtime rewards you for free. Day 16 done. The takeaway: sealed is a deliberate contract that tells the runtime and your teammates this type is complete, safer hierarchies and faster code. Subscribe for day 17.